Hello.
You may recall in one of my most recent videos, I made this fake stone wall out of these plastic sheets that I got online.
Nice.
And I hate it. If there is one thing that I've learned about myself when given the power to do anything I want aesthetically to this barn, it is that my internal monologue is... So essentially, in an attempt to make this barn look like the queue line to my very own theme park, kind of want to retry this. I think I've got just the trick. If I can't actually be an elderly bog witch living in a crumbling cottage, by George, I'm going to at least pretend.
On every level except physical, I am an elderly bog witch.
My method for this? Well, it may come as a complete shock to most of you. I am basing all of this off of 3 YouTube videos that I have watched. The channel, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but I believe it's Very Art. He has a bunch of really helpful videos about creating plaster art right onto the wall. His videos make me feel like I'm watching an ancient master at work. Possibly when I shouldn't be. But I'll tell you what, I've never been more sure about anything in my life, as I am sure that he makes this look way easier than it is. But I figure if he can make full-blown Roman masterpieces onto the wall, then I think that maybe I can manage just some craggly rocks.
Should have done this before I pressed record. Oh my god.
Starting on this extremely blank wall will really help me kind of fine-tune my method and have just a big blank space to work with. Look at it. You can almost hear it beckoning me.
Transform me, mommy.
My master plan is not all that complicated. I'm basically going to use a reference photo of a stone wall and trace that onto the wall itself, make all of those individual rocks out of plaster, and then paint them as realistically as I can. Sound good, team?
Break! Let's talk concocting. 1.21 gigawatts! All I essentially need for materials is this bad boy, which is joint compound, which I'm assuming is pretty much just plaster. 90 minutes, which is 1 minute less from the runtime of the film Babe. So, aside from that, some drywall tools, smaller, sculpting tools. This texture brush that I saw with all of the drywall tools, I don't know, kind of makes me want to brush a horse. As far as actually building the thing, this is not too bad. So I guess we should actually start. Before we do that though, there is no heckin' way that I am crafting in such a tight skirt. I'm gonna slip into something a little more comfortable. Right, let's do it. Oh, so naughty. The music of my people. It's a bit hard to see, but all of my outlining is there. So now we can whip up our first batch of sludge. Tame the chaos a bit. Whew. He said to use 70% joint compound, and then whoop, and then 30% water, which means I'm just gonna kind of wing it here. A little bit more water. Oop. That was too much. A little bit more. That's the ticket. Oh, okay. Well, slap. Okay, good thing I put the tarp down. Mush it around. Slap, slap, slap. Lay all of this on there and then worry about edges and shaping and texturing. Oh, okay, now I'm gonna grab a sculpting tool, clean up these edges.
looks so cool. Texture's a little bit weird, but I think as it starts to dry, I think I can kind of go in and like smooth it out a little bit more. Start to add a little bit more diversity in the topography department. I think it might be kind of fun to make some parts sticking out a little bit more, like real waxwood. Go in and just add like a very thin layer in between all the rocks to look like grout. Yeah, all right, I'm excited. I need to mix up more and then we can just start doing more rocks. Let's freaking do it. I'm psyched, okay. That took so long. I suppose I didn't really think about this while I was drawing myself about 4 billion teeny tiny little rock figures. You know, the more that I drew, then the longer it would take. The base is pretty much here. It's very textured. So I think tomorrow, a big thing I'm gonna do, go in and add some lumps and bumps. I'm gonna go eat some snacks and I'll see you tomorrow. Let's add some lovely lady lumps to these stones. Most of it is pretty much dry. Not all that important because I'm just gonna be adding some more on there. I am so excited, it looks so cool. Once I add some hills and valleys, it can only look cooler, am I right? I think I have just about this much, which is pretty sweet. That means I really can kind of use this up and, you know, not have to put it in storage after. I'm excited. I just drooled a little. That's how you know the excitement is real. All right, as you may have noticed, I did graduate to using my hands. Gave me a little bit more control over the smoothness of everything. Go over everything with a little bit of water. Smooth it out if I can. So now I'm just gonna be doing this, which is a little intimate, a little ghost moment. Editing Rachel, if you will.
I got this, boss.
My hello, my darling.
All right, well, I'm gonna crack on with that. Catch you on the flip side. Sensually rubbing the wall. Ta-da! Ouch. Here is today's progress. Giving it the old rub down really did make a huge difference. These are a lot smoother than the ones up there because I just really started to get tired. It's not great up there. I'll probably focus my sanding more towards the top. Freaking getting there, y'all. And then tomorrow we can do some painting, which is my favorite. I'm gonna let this dry and I'll see you tomorrow. Morning. The state of this barn right now is appalling. If there's one thing I'm learning about myself throughout this process is that I would make a horrible criminal. It looks like the Pillsbury Doughboy got absolutely wrecked. Forgot that my socks had plaster on them. So yes, today
is painting day. But before I venture to the store to get all of the paint that I need, it's time, my friends, because I fear this video might be too short, for an unrelated side note. I recently bought this antique hat box. Didn't realize that it came with a bunch of hats in it. Mystery hats, if you will. I thought it might be kind of cheeky. Pop this baby open and see what we got. Now, 'tis time to run to the home improvement store, which I would like to think I'm gonna fit right in with all of the contractors. I need to grab some paint. I have some black paint already. I might grab some black chalk paint, a bunch of gray. I'm also gonna grab some white chalk paint, so that way I can kind of brush on some lighter tones, make the stone look a little more natchy. Let's go. Righto. First thing I need to do, sand these babies down. I don't think I should have to do all too much, but just to get rid of any extra lines and textures, let's get started. Okay, that actually was not bad at all. So I'm just gonna move on to painting. I'm gonna do the grout first. Yeah, as you may have noticed, did not actually end up going in creating that grout texture like I said I was going to. I think we can just do this with paint and kind of create the illusion rather than actually needing texture. This might be a bad idea. I'm gonna do that before I do the rocks. I can get some on the rocks and then on the rocks. We have fun here. To make a dark gray, some of this black, and then mixing, and it does look like I'm gonna need a little bit more black. It smells good. It smells like home improvement and instant gratification. Okay, we're gonna need a lot more black. Gosh, this is probably way more paint than I actually need. Y'all, okay, I need more. God, it's still not dark enough. More! All right, I'll save this for the stones. Majority black with the slightest bit of gray. There we go. All right, let's get to painting. I will probably have to go in and do a second coat of this, but that's okay. The texture of these, and this is very specific. In elementary school, we did this thing where we would have like fake whale teeth that our teachers gave us. You would have to carve into it a nautical scene, or I guess whatever you wanted, like scrimshaw. Now thinking back on it is so weird. Unless you're a crusty old fisherman from the 1700s. Bosh! All right, I'm gonna crack on with this. See you in a bit. Okay, that's done. I'm just gonna kind of go in, cherry pick. Some are gonna be dark gray, some are gonna be light gray, some are gonna be a mix. You know?
I found that dipping the brush in black first and then into the color that I wanted made a really nice marbling technique. So, fun fact. Finally, all of the stones are painted. Oh boy. Very messy as time went on, and decided not to give 3 flying f***s about going on to the grout paint, just because it was taking me
way too long when I was caring about it. So I have a little bit cleanup work to do by going around the edges and then all like the white spots. But once I'm done with that, then I can start adding some weathering and some highlights to make these really, really look more like stone. Be right back. That took for freaking ever. I'm actually gonna take this fun brush right here, dry brush some whites and darks onto these stones, because if you look at pictures of stones, they've got a lot going on. They've got some white spackling, some dark spackling. But to do that, I really have to make sure it is true dry brushing. Dip this in here, really try to get most of it off. Let's test this out, shall we? And then kind of just something like that. So it's definitely very subtle. Kind of rub it over too. It should catch all the ridges. And once again, we're getting this grout in need of touch-ups, so love it. Probably should have just waited. I am just smacking the shit out of this wall. Reloading. Okay, just for fun, let's see this before and after. That's pretty cool. Experiment and do the same thing with just the faintest bit of black paint. Oh yeah. You can also tone down some of the white so it doesn't look like a snowstorm. Basically, we want this wall to look like it's seen some shit. Yeah, I think that's gonna help. I'm gonna keep going with this and go over the grout again. I'll see you in the reveal. She's done, and I am so happy. I don't know what it is about home renovation and DIY stuff that makes me so dang joyful. I feel like I can attribute it to my days of playing Sims. I was always just building stuff, and I was like, but for what? So now that social media is a big part of my life, I can seek the validation of strangers. Look at my wall. This was kind of my experiment and my first test into doing this. There are a couple things that I think if I'm gonna do this again, which I do plan to do this again, both over there and then in a spot in my house, which you'll see in a future video. Some advice for myself and for anyone following this, which I normally wouldn't think anyone would, but people are always surprising me. So just in case, what I would do differently next time, space the rocks together a little bit more. I think this looks fine. If the rocks were just a little bit closer together, it would look even more realistic and there wouldn't be so much negative space. Number two, create a grout texture with the drywall component. Maybe not for this wall, let's be honest, but I think for the next wall I will make an actual kind of moat, if you will, between all of the rocks. This still feels like an illusion to me, even though these are technically three-dimensional. I think because there's no texture in between, it just kind of looks like a fake wall. And number three, add a little bit more dimension to the rocks themselves. Creating more shadows and dimensions with the lumps and bumps would be just the ticket. But yeah, honestly, aside from that, I am super psyched with it. I love fabricating. I love making things look withered and old, how I am on the inside. Even though this project was an absolute killer to my wrist and my arms, and I was exhausted after each and every single day, I would not trade it for anything. I had so much fun. Highly recommend. If you have a boring wall in your house, make it look like a dungeon. That's what I always say. That is it. I hope you guys had fun. If you want to see extra content, bonus content, just silly stuff, you can head over to my Patreon and become part of the fellowship for just $5 a month. That's down below in the description if you want. If you don't want, that's totally fine, man. Happy to have you here. I love you guys, whether you're new or old to this channel. If you're new here and you feel like sticking around, feel free to subscribe. I upload every other Friday and we have fun here. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye. I'm hungry. Marty! About to do my own stunts. It's gonna be really cool, guys. Evel Knievel over here. Oh, that's high up. Oh, I'm too scared. I'm gonna step down one. Oh, my nose is running.
Good boy, such a model. Oh my god.